Hello, it's Nancy welcoming you to Garden Scroll. And I was out just a few minutes ago this morning. It was so beautiful that I already had in my mind to say, come with me on a Garden Scroll this beautiful fall morning. And the wind is coming in now and the cool, and it feels more like a brisk fall morning. So that's the way fall is. Look what I saw this morning. Guess it hasn't got too cold for him yet. He's still in the garden. This is the day that I could hardly wait to get out here and show you the garden one more time in that beautiful fall weather. And instead, it's just blowing like crazy and it's cold. So that's not happening. But look at this. Look at the color. So bright, so beautiful. This little impatient. There's just no end to God's beauty. I think it's wonderful just to get to share this moment. It's wonderful just to get to have this moment. It is true that I wish it were beautiful and I could just really show the garden off to you and enjoy it myself so much. But we'll see what happens. That's not going to happen today. I've got to get the rest of my houseplants in. I started last night, but I did not get very far in the big scheme of things. I did get a lot of this stuff taken out, but you can see how far I got, because right there's my little chefalera, and it's got to come in right now. Since I took some of the house plants and tender plants inside, you can actually see some of the things you haven't been able to see in a while, because the other things were just so grown up that they covered them up. But that's okay. It's nice to have them there, and it's nice when they're gone and you can see these things again. And these things are nicest to have in the spring when there's no other interest there. After this stuff dies back, it's going to look terrible, of course, but I think I can handle that from inside where it's nice and warm and I'm resting up from all this work. I still wonder if the plants know. I told you that I did read that little book of what a plant knows, but I don't know. It was awfully, well, had words that I didn't really understand in it and things that I didn't really understand, but it was still interesting to me because I do wonder, I just can't help but wonder, do these little plants know that it's their last day? Are they like us when they hope to just keep living? I know that's what I've always hoped when anybody in my family has been sick. I hold on to prayer and hope until there's no more hope left. And actually, sometimes they do get well, so you never know. I'm waiting for them to, but I know that winter is going to come, like it's going to come in all of our lives. We have an appointment with death. I wonder, do these little plants know that it's their last days? I did take in, I'm showing you this one. This one didn't have, it's got an actual short stem. It looks tall, but it's up on this part of the stem, and it splits. I had to get a different battery in my camera, but what I was saying is that this little Alabama sunset coleus has a shorter stem, so I found one or two with a longer stem to save in glasses for the winter. So hopefully it'll be, oh, look at this. I did not take this in. Thank God it's still alive and doing well, but it must go in just in a few minutes. I must bring that inside. I'm so glad I noticed that. And that usually happens after I bring plants in and think I have them all. I usually do find one, so I definitely want to take that inside. Sorry I left it out here last night because, as I told you, it got cold yesterday and it's still cold today, but we're supposed to be back up in the 80s again at some point this week, so this is not going to last, and they will be pretty again. I think last night was as cold as it was going to get until next Friday, or this coming Friday. So actually at this season, it's going, and I just was wondering, do they know it's going to? All that work and it's going to be over, but we'll have these pictures, we'll have a record of it, and it's going to be wonderful, and we'll be able to look at them from the comfort of our home where it's nice and toasty warm this winter without making us sweat and have a terrible experience. But it'll be a wonderful experience to watch it on the screen or on your computer, on your phone, however you watch it. There's all the beauty just for you. Here's a little one that's been covered up pretty much for a while. Still looking good. Beautiful dipped in wine coleus is there with its pretty little bear. This one's been covered up pretty much too. All of fall's beautiful, beautiful colors. And I took out my little silver sage. It's a biennial plant, and I have never got one to live more than one season because it dies inside my home, but I'm trying again, so hopefully it will make it and come back out next spring and put us on seed for another season. Right now I'm going to put this little pumpkin in here. It's hard to say goodbye to it all. It is. It always is. But we'll try again next year and see what kind of garden we have. Today is still pretty cold, but I wanted to go ahead and get some of this because it's still beautiful, and I'll still be bringing some things in. This little purple heart will come inside. And I just put this in a closet or some space that you have in your home, and just leave it alone until spring. And actually it will lose all of its color, and it will just curl up and look like it's dead, and the stems will be white. But when I bring it out in the spring, after a little sun and rain, it will be just like this again. At least that's what's been happening now for several years. And I put my gladiolas in pots this year because I'm terrible at digging stuff up, and I do have quite a bit of that to do too. But these, I'm also going to take these little pots inside if I can find places for them, and bring them back out next year and hope they go ahead and live again. Some of the mums are open that weren't all the way open or just budded out. The last time we did a garden scroll. Oh, I forgot that I have. No, these are not gladiolas. These are actually iris. And that's another job I need to attend to, is to clip back all my gladiolas. Iris. I do love to clip them, or I hate clipping them back, iris, but I much prefer to clip them back now while you can see where they are connected to the rhizome, and just clip it back there rather than have to search for the little after they get all soggy and wet and brown, and it's hard to tell where to even pick them up and where to find the end of it to clip it off. So I hope to get that done before winter just really sets in. I just listened to a little bit of the weather report that did say we will be having 80-degree weather sometime this week, but then the cold is going to come back on Friday. And so I just want to get everything done that I can get done, because following that there will be a freeze. There won't be any more of this laying back in the garden and looking at the flowers. They'll all be gone. That I don't want to miss any of these pretty mums. I had a really dark coleus right here, and I clipped it off and took it inside, and it promptly wilted on me. So I guess I won't have that one for next year. It didn't do well this year, but I know that it could. It was beautiful, just almost black. Such a pretty coleus, but hopefully I'll find more beautiful ones next spring. And these are daisy mums. I guess they must open a little later. At least they did for me this season. It feels like at some times they open earlier, so I'm not really sure, that I know they're beautiful. Beautiful fall plant. And the salvias, this red salvia, it's a hardy. It'll die back to the root, come back again next spring. And it is a wonderful plant, they say, for hummingbirds when they migrate, because in the fall it's still beautiful right up to the freeze. It's beautiful. And then in the spring, of course, there's so many other things coming on for the hummingbirds then too. And I'm not really thinking of the early spring plants right now, but they will find them, like the columbine. That would be one of them. So they definitely come and check it all out. Here's another little pot I'll need to take inside. It has gladiolas in it, and right there in the center is a cranium bulb, which didn't do anything this year, but I'm hoping to be able to take it inside, just put it away, bring it out next spring, and hopefully it'll come on up and do great. Mums and those beautiful marigolds that I forgot the name of, and I think I must have used all of the seed. I had a couple of people ask me what kind they were on my Instagram page, and I don't remember the name of these, but they are beautiful. They're just as beautiful as the picture on the package. And I'll definitely want to take this little cactus zinnia inside and save it for seed, and hopefully have more of these in my garden next year. There we go. That's what gardeners do. They're always thinking about the next garden. I don't know if I told you, I don't think I told you that my little party was a wonderful success in my opinion. I think I had 4 ladies and 2 guys that came by, and it was just very nice. And I had one return from last year, return person that came, and she is also getting so interested in plants. She took a few last year for start. She took some more this year. Some of hers died, and it didn't discourage her to the point that she quit. It just encouraged her to the point she's going to try again. So I'm pretty sure we've got another addict, another gardening addict on our hands. Isn't that wonderful? And then I also had, you will not believe this, but a lady that took care of my baby girl who is in her 30s, it's true, and I hadn't seen her in years, and she came up, and I didn't know who she was. I can't believe I didn't. And when she said her name, I knew immediately who she was. So she has been following the garden on Facebook, and I was so happy for that. It just thrilled me, and it thrilled me to see her. And she's interested in doing gardening. She said her backyard has terraces in it, and I said, oh, that's going to be like waves of beautiful flowers. And she said, well, that's what I'm hoping. So she's very interested in doing gardening too. And I think I've told you this stuff is not like some people say it's therapeutic for them. I do love the part about being outside when the weather is nice. I love the part about being outside. But when the weather is bad, which is all summer long in the heat, and just about any other time except for those few little days, weeks in spring when you're so busy you can't look up anyway, and then those few little days in fall between absolute heat that is destroying the garden heat to the frost when it does take it all out. So there's very little time, but those are of course my favorite times because I can enjoy being outside. But as far as just working in this, it's very hard for me. Here's another bunch of iris that's got to be clipped off. I want to do that this week if I can, because that freezing cold is coming, and this job has to be done. Oh, look, here's two little gifts from my friend Alma. This little dog and this little welcome sign. And she said that it reminded her of me because of my fall garden get-together that we do. So that's so wonderful to me. I just love it. It does fit perfectly to welcome my guests. But I would also have to say that it's the beauty, the being surrounded by God's nature and beauty that makes me love gardening. It's not the work. It's just not. I do not consider, nor will I consider myself a lazy person, because I'm not. I might be a dreamer, but I also put some, what my daddy and mother used to call elbow grease. I put some of that on my dreams too, a lot of that on my dreams. But it's the beauty. It's not the work. It's not being having therapeutic work in the garden. I'm grateful that other people feel that way. I wish I could feel that way, but mostly I just want the work to be done, and I have not got to sit and have my tea in the seat in the back in the little swing, which I've been wanting to do all summer long and then in the fall, but there's just always jobs to be done. And if you wait too long, oh, how lucky I was that God held the freeze back until after my party, because that day could have came the day before, and then we would have been in trouble. Nobody would have came. But I decided actually that I wasn't going to do it again, most likely. But then when I mentioned that to one of my guests, she said, "Oh, why? I look forward to this." So I'll probably try it again. I do know that God has a purpose for this, but I don't know what it is. He didn't tell me that part. So I'm just assuming that either I'm not ready or the garden's not ready for what he has in mind just yet. Or maybe I'm just dreaming big and all he really wanted was something to keep me busy, so I would stop whining about being depressed or whatever. I had no purpose, which maybe I still don't, but I feel this is a purpose. I love it. I just love the beauty. I love being able to share it with you. I love just enjoying it. I love creating. Oh my goodness, we're made in our Father's image. He's the great creator. And here we are creating stuff. I know he made it all. There's not one little thing out here that I made that I just snapped into being or spoke into being. All of it is stuff he made, but he allowed me to put it together like this. Not that that's always so great, because lots of things I've had to totally redo and that didn't work, but I'm learning as I go. And there's just so much beauty to behold in God's nature, like the insects, the butterflies, the birds, the hummingbirds, just so much beauty in nature. Just when the weather is great, just being outside and feeling that perfect day, that perfect atmosphere, and you can do it with a beautiful surrounding. That right there is what gardening is all about to me. And sharing it with God. You know he made all this stuff. You know he's proud of us every time we grow. I always imagine that he's just looking down at us thinking, that's my child that I made in my image, and look at them. They're doing stuff with this plant that I created. I hope these beautiful marigolds will have seed in them, and seed that I can see well enough to save it and plant it again next year and have these in my garden. I would love to have these in my garden like from now on, as well as these beautiful cactus zinnias. I just realized that this little mum has not opened yet. I mean, it's kind of humongous. I need to thin it out. But it hasn't opened yet, and I think this is one of the daisy mums. So maybe the daisy mums do open later than some of the other mums do. And another thing I'll do is I will take some of my little garden decor in, and then others I will just cover with plastic. And I know my sister says you could not get away with that if you lived in town. They wouldn't put up with all those plastic bags on everything. But luckily, I just live out here in the semi-country. And I can just put plastic on most of this. But that's a job in itself. And what will I do when it's over? Well, if you've watched any of the posts, you know that I go directly from bringing stuff in to cooking for my sisters, and even then I'm farther behind than I would like to be, because I do make Christmas candies, or I try to, and I just determined one time I wasn't going to do that again too, because you really need Christmas candies for Thanksgiving dinner. But my sister said, oh, but people will miss it, they'll wonder where it was and why you didn't fix some. So, I went ahead and fixed some, and I hope to get to do it again this year. So, I guess I will leave the front yard now. Here's more of those pretty daisy mums. But I will leave the front yard and we'll go to the back for just a minute. But the front yard is where most all of my house plants, my non-hardy plants and my house plants are most usually here in the front. I did take some of these in, but I may need to get some more of those. I certainly don't want to lose those. I can't always find them in the spring, and this, it just didn't grow big enough or tall enough for me to get a good stem to say, so I guess I'll let it go and hope to start another one next year, because this is one of my favorites, even though it's scraggly, and it has been scraggly all season long. But it had one big beautiful leaf that I put on my Instagram. But other than that, it has been a scraggly little thing. But most usually this is a Kong coleus, and most usually it is just a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. And I love this color. I love so many of them, but this color in the Kong is definitely one of, if not my favorite. And right across over here is where that little frog was I showed you yesterday morning. So there's just still so much beauty in the garden, and I want to enjoy all of it. I want to get it all on here. I want to watch it this winter whenever we're hopefully having a little bit of rest time, when we're not quite so busy, even though it will be busy, like I started to tell you and got sidetracked. I will be busy. I will be very busy. There's so much to do, and then as a gardener, there's so much you leave undone in your home because you're just trying to keep the garden alive. So I'll have to play catch up inside and get a lot done in there, as much as I can get done in there too. And another little job I need to do, I noticed this little gazing ball needs some repair. I will cover that with plastic for the winter, but I hope to see if I can get some of the repair jobs done in the garden. Oh, this little girl has been hidden most of the season, and she's a favorite for me. Just look at her. If she were fat, she would look like me. She doesn't have all the beauty that she would like, but look how happy she is in the garden. She's showing off those beautiful flowers to full effect. And I just love her. So here's this one last beautiful rose, or it may not be our last one. There's still going to be some pretty weather even after our first frost will come out, and there will be some pretty weather, but the surroundings won't be the same once all the color goes and everything turns brown. The weather will still be beautiful, and it will still beckon us to come outside. But these beautiful surroundings just won't be there. And as I came out the back door, or back gate, I saw our little resident rabbit, and not this one, but a real live one, scamper across. And I was hoping he was somewhere gone away from the garden safe for the winter, and I hoped he got in wherever those possums that we caught instead of catching him got in. But we took those to a different surrounding, and if I could catch that little rabbit, I would do the same for him. But he made for some cute pictures, but he also did eat up some of my flowers. That it'll all be gone. I did take in my little hanging basket that I had over in that corner, the little down under basket or pot that I fixed up. I still have not taken in my agaves, and I need to do that. How do people bring these in? I mean, I can see how I can bring mine in because they're still small, but I would love to have these out here, those big, gigantic, well, couldn't say exclamation point in the garden because they're little fat plants. They don't grow tall. Well, they maybe grow tall, but their width is always in about the same as their height. So anyway, I do wonder how people bring these in, because these will they have thorns on them. They will cut you. They're so pretty. I would still like to bring my spikes inside, some of them at least. I always love a spike for flair. This is a pretty little hanging basket with these trailing periwinkle, but it's that flare that draws your attention to them, that stand-up spike that says, hey, look at me. And my double cosmos, a lot of people mentioned it at the garden party. It was just so big and pretty and looking great. And for me, this does like zinnias do. You can see that they're just growing up with the zinnias there. But they do like zinnias in that I don't even have to plant them. Once you plant one, they put down sometimes more seed than you want. But they're easy to pull up in the springtime, the excess ones, and they're so pretty. And I got my start of the pretty double cosmos from ordering seeds from something else, and this was a little freebie they gave me, and I do love it. And there's actually one that's a red. It kind of turns more of a yellow orange by the end of the season, but when it starts out, it is very, very red. Very pretty. Which, of course, the yellow ones are pretty too, but you know, that red, like I said before, the red is definitely the cherry on top. So let me just sit right down here for a minute, since I very rarely get to sit down in the garden. And we'll see what we can see from this vantage point, because you can see a lot from here. That's why this is my favorite seating area. You can see the most part of the garden. And it's a little cool this morning, but it's still very nice. I'm actually out here in my robe, and it is a long, slightly heavy, not real heavy, but it's enough. It's not bad weather yet, but it will get there. Definitely will get there soon. Always too soon for me, because I wish this is my time to enjoy the garden, and I would like to do more and more of that. But I still want to enjoy it with all this beauty around me, and you just have to work awfully hard to keep it looking beautiful. You basically have to work all the time to keep it looking pretty, and even then there's many things I don't get around to. So you can see why I would love to just sit here and look at the garden for quite some time and just let nature happen around me, because there's just so much to see. If you sit here long enough, the birds will get used to you enough to come up and feed at this little feeder, although they will be leery of you. At least they have as long as I've been here, since I haven't been able to stay out enough for them to just get totally used to me. And they know that I'll be going away to do some job somewhere, going in the front, so they just kind of wait till I leave, and then they do their thing. Sometimes they scold me and tell me to get out of their area. Look at these gorgeous marigolds. This is, of course, a gift from my brother. A few of the zinnias are left, and I'll want to get these for seed. Just look at that beautiful color. Definitely one of my favorites. And here's another mum that hasn't fully opened up yet at all. It's just now beginning to open, but you can tell it is also a daisy mum. You can see the little daisies on it. So I'm gonna, maybe I'll figure out something. There's so many things happening around you in the garden, it's hard to actually remember what you do, or to even notice enough to learn something from it, because there's just kind of overload. But I love it. I love that garden overload, if the weather's pretty enough to enjoy it. This, of course, is alternanthera. It's not the ruby night, the black night, or purple night. Purple night is the name of it, but not this one. This one is little, I think it's called little ruby. It's something ruby, and it's gorgeous. They're both just a gorgeous plant. And my little coleus that I put in with it didn't really have time to shine, to get big and tall above it, but they're still pretty in there. And I've still enjoyed this little combination of plants. Now this one is not a daisy mum. I think this one is a cushion mum. So, and it hasn't fully opened yet. I actually did get this little one staked up for my party, but it's already fallen over. Not quite as far as it had before, though. I do love the celotias, but they can become a problem, just like morning glories. I love them so, but they definitely will just take over if you let them. And sometimes it's hard to keep them from it, even if you're trying. If you have them, they usually take over. That's why I don't have a lot of morning glories. I do have a few, and I try to clip them back before they go to seed. This little pot has the mum blooming in it. This one is just green almost all of the season, and now it's just looking great with the color in there too. And then down below it there is that pretty red salvia I was telling you about. I have some in the front, and it does spread a little, but it doesn't spread like the annual and just come up everywhere. And I love this little plant. All this gorgeous color that's going to all turn brown. But then we'll get to rest. The garden will get to rest, and I'll get to rest. Hopefully that'll be what happens. You know how that goes sometimes when you plan to rest. There seems to always be something happening that you either have to, want to, or need to be a part of. Get this beautiful purple angeloni. It's just now getting where it's just coming into its own and shining in beauty. And then this is what those green bugs that look like green ladybugs somewhat, but they're not ladies. I told you that they're not ladies, and this is why, because they will destroy your pretty little plants. And I saw a beautiful zinnia over here too. Let me get over here to it so I can show it to you. Now this one is pretty, but for some reason it's kind of been, I think one of the morning glory vines that I pulled up had gotten on it and just kind of distorted its little shape. But right here's the one I was going to show you. Isn't that pretty? And then this pretty gaillardia, fanfare gaillardia, and marigolds there beside it. I don't know if I ever showed you that I do have some of the black-eyed Susan vine that's growing here. It did not do very well this year. It just kind of got a late start, and then I think it may have been too much in the shade right here in this area. Beautiful alyssum just shines in the fall. I see this little place here is also getting nipped by the cold. It won't be here much longer. This is again one of my very favorite coleus, this bright and yet a lighter shade of peach or salmon. It's just so pretty and goes so pretty with the pretty salmon. Impatiens. I love to have that little combination in my garden every year also. And the white impatiens are gorgeous too. Don't count out white because just look at this, what it does. Especially in the fall when it has its full growth on. It's so pretty. It shines like lights. White is like lights in the shade. And I was going to also say this little plant, we'll notice it in the spring because it will be filled with little tiny yellow, bright yellow bloom. And it is a alyssum also. It's the perennial alyssum called compacta yellow. And it's very pretty in the spring when everything else is still asleep or just waking up. It will be shining in beautiful yellow bloom, putting little spots of sunshine all over the garden. We'll have to say goodbye to this little, I'll put the little angel up so she won't have, well, all that little garden art right there I'll put up so they won't have a tendency to bust and crack in the elements, and hope my little pond just keeps lasting. It's lasted a good while now. You can tell behind her if you look closely that there is a crack, but it was only in the rim, and I was able to put that back with some Gorilla Glue, and I think she's just still looking great. I will want to come out and get all the rest of the zinnias that are still left in here for seed, like I need them. I know I don't, but this right here is some of the annual salvia, and it will just put on so many seeds and come up everywhere. I probably need to take this out. It is pretty though, but sometimes, you know, I've made that mistake thinking, well, it's so pretty, I'll leave it, and then you have so much to, it chokes out everything else, and then it's too late. You realize, because you'll end up losing other things before you get it out of there. That's talking from experience, of course. One of my friends at the party was asking me like what she should do and how to do it, and to give her pointers, and I'm like, I'm not sure you want pointers from me. You can learn from my mistakes maybe, because I've literally taken invasive plants, and because they were so beautiful, just taken the seed and sprinkled them not only in that one spot but all over the garden. You know what a mess that was to clean out, because we're not talking days, we're talking years. You can get it as much as you can one year and then just keep trying to get it out of there until you get it all out, because if you don't get it all out, one little seed will start a little plant that'll start millions of, well, maybe not millions, but it'll end up being millions. And then one of my other friends is wanting to put them like in a open area where it's okay for them to just come back, which will be wonderful, and I know it's going to end up being beautiful, but I am concerned. I'm concerned that one little plant will be more aggressive and take over everything else till she just has one little plant out there. But that could even be beautiful if it has a place to roam, a place to grow, a place where it can take over without killing something else. It could be a beauty. Any of that invasive stuff could be. I really wish there was a way you could make every invasive plant not invasive, where it would be sterile and yet where you could have it at least one season in your garden, like 4 o'clocks and morning glories. They're so pretty, and you think you just want the kind that come back over and over again, but they just come back to kill everything else out, and that's all you're going to have most of the time. That's not what you want. Also, I did not get all of my peonies clipped back. I have always before waited till spring to clip this back, but because of these darks, how many of them turned so dark, I'm afraid they may have a disease, and it may just be the crisped up from summer's heat too, because I know I felt like this little plant right here. But I think it's best if I go ahead and take them down just in case there's a disease there. I don't want my peonies to be full of disease. I want them to be beautiful and to live for many, many years, hopefully past my life. I think I may have told you that my husband did get the stepping stones, which is still a little shaky on an uphill climb, but incline, but it's still much better. At least you can get a more sure footing, maybe not a sure footing, but a more sure footing than the way it was. With these beautiful pink strawberry fields, globe flower, gorgeous. This beautiful mum, I don't think it was opened up for my party. I think it was just little buds, but now it's got more of it open than are just the little buds, and it looks so good. I love it. Also beginning to bloom is this beautiful soft yellow, which I've told you this would be my favorite color if I had a favorite color. But who can do that when all the colors are so gorgeous? You just love them all. I certainly have a fondness for this color, though. Maybe because I was a mother hen for so long. Daddy would give me the ones the hens rejected, and they would follow me around. They actually thought I was their mother, and I thought they were so cute. There are still lots of bulbs that I need to dig up and save. This elephant ear is one of them. It didn't do as well for me this year, but this can be a beauty. It was last year. And there's so many things like this pretty, normally beautiful chocolate plant with these beautiful white tusks, but because we had to take out our pear tree, there's its little stump, it was providing shade to these plants. So most everything in this little area right here does need at least partial shade, and so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. And these are my beautiful Lenten roses. I love these, and they come up first thing in the spring, and oh, I don't want to lose them. I may have to move them somewhere else. But actually, I'm losing all my shade until I can get some more trees planted. And I don't have a lot of room for a lot of trees, but I definitely would love to have another pear tree to put back in this area right here. I did get a few little sprigs of this beautiful strawberry drop. Oh, how I wish I could save the whole thing. It's just so pretty, but I do not have room for all that. I actually, my house is small, and already we kind of had to do like a maze, so now it's even a tighter maze to get through our house. But it's always worth it to save these beautiful plants. Look at them in the fall. Look at that. In this summer, remember how faded they look, and they were still pretty, but look at that color now. Gorgeous. And I may try to pull this mandevilla vine up and save the root somewhere. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that or not, but there's some more signs that fall is here, that the later part of fall is here, because the plants are going away. Castor bean seed and the beautiful castor bean leaves. Beautiful silver falls dichondra. And my sweet autumn clematis or clematis did not do as well as I wanted it to. Although it was pretty, it just didn't stay as long and fill out quite as full as I would have liked it to. But it's such a pretty little mound. And then in the fall, at some point, it does have beautiful, beautiful white little tiny flowers, but just a flowing, just covered with the little tiny white flowers. It's such a beautiful plant. It also can get invasive. I had it coming up everywhere over on the west fence, but I couldn't just throw it all away, so I put this one little area for it. And because I do have this weed control paper with holes everywhere, as you can see, I've planted plants here and there, but it does help for it to not just transplant itself everywhere. And I've enjoyed this little cone planter too, and if I could get these to come back next year, that'll be wonderful. And hopefully I'll get my coleuses to do better, because these haven't really made much of a showing until now. They're so pretty. Little grouping of brick has dwindled down. We were hoping that we could get them all away from there and on. Look, this is the path that my husband fixed for me first, and then he fixed me a border down at the other end. I have to go down there and show that to you. When he did my first path, he was a little bit disappointed in himself because he didn't get it quite straight, which has never bothered me. I don't mind a curve or two, but he made this one straight. Look, it looks like professionals did it. He and his brother did this for me, and it looks so good. I'm going to have to quit because my battery is flashing at me again. It's going to go ahead and quit. So, life is fragile. Handle with prayer is what this little plaque says, and that is so true. So I'm going to tell you goodbye for today, and please do subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and give me some comments. Let me know how you liked the garden, how you liked the garden scrolls, being able to scroll through the garden with me. I hope you love it. I do love sharing it with you. It's my favorite thing of the garden, other than just being out here sitting and looking at it. Look at this, is my geranium. This is the prettiest it's been all season long. It's so full and pretty right now, and I love it. I need to glue that back up there because they won't stay. I glue everything down. I live in Oklahoma. I know, I told you I was going. So I really am. I really am. One more time, please give me a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next week.